I didn't have any experience. The only experience I had was a 4-day hike in the Low Tatras in Slovakia. That was my first multi-day hike. And that was the time when I realized it's not that easy as I thought it would be. On the HRP, every pass is different, every valley is different. It's challenging to hike this trail, but it's beautiful to see how landscape changes with every step you make.
Welcome back to the 10 Adventures podcast. One of my first big hikes was the GR10, which took me through the French Pyrenees. As I was walking the GR10, I kept hearing about other routes through the Pyrenees, which sounded exciting and challenging. Today, we're going to learn about the Pyrenean Haute Route, a challenging long-distance path that goes from the Atlantic to the Mediterranean through the Pyrenees. Here to share more about this route is Nikita Grachev, who completed the Pyrenean Haute Route in 2023 and has a wonderful and really beautifully filmed 7-part YouTube series on his trip. Hi, Nikita. Welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for the invitation.
It's great to have you on because I don't know much about this route, but I fell in love with the Pyrenees. I guess first off, can you share why the High Pyrenean Trail or the Pyrenean Haute Route is such a hard route? It's kind of famous for being a really challenging trip.
There are 3 trails that goes through the lands of the Pyrenees, GR10, GR11, and the HRP. The first 2 of them are going on the Spanish and on the French side of the Pyrenees, but the HRP is going through the through the highest trails of this mountain range and the most challenging ones. So it takes like the best from these 2 worlds, and the best and the most challenging. Like for example, you are starting a day at the elevation of 1,500 meters, and then you go up at a really high pass for a half of a day, and for the other half of the day, you just go down. And just like that, with the elevation is just destroying you all the time, but in a beautiful way.
I've heard that it's not like very well signposted, and I know a lot of these long distance grand randonnées in Europe, the signposting is really good, but I've heard the HRP like it isn't that good, and there's like some route finding. Did you find that as well?
Some problems with marking on this trail, and there are many parts when you just are going in a direction up or down, like on a pass or down from a pass, and sometimes there's nothing, just a direction. And I just had offline maps, and I was following the road like that. But some parts of this trail are crossing ways with GR trails, which are marked, and these parts are much easier for finding your way on the trail.
Let's maybe go back a little bit. Before doing this, what was your experience in long distance trekking?
Actually, I didn't have any experience. The only experience I had was a 4-day hike in the Low Tatras in Slovakia, in the country that I currently live in. And that was my first multi-day hike. And that was the time when I realized it's not that easy as I thought it would be. And in just 20 days, I'm out on the most challenging on distance trail in Europe, and that was quite a crazy decision, but because I didn't have any experience, but I gained a lot of experience on this trail, and with this experience, like anything is possible.
What drew you to this Pyrenean route? It's not super well known compared to a lot of the longer distance European through hikes. So how did you end up doing this one and not something else?
Back in 2021, I found about the Pacific Crest Trail in the United States of America, and I was really inspired by this trail, and I wanted to find something similar to it in Europe, and the HRP seemed to be the right option. It is difficult, it is beautiful, it has a diverse nature, and yes, just a beautiful trail.
So starting this, you had 4 days experience. What was that first week like for you? Like, was it making you question if you should keep going? Did you learn some things really quickly about what works and what doesn't work?
A few first days were fine, but I got in a storm, and my blisters situation just went really bad, and every step was painful from that moment. And at that point, I started questioning this decision. And at day 14, if I'm not mistaken, I parted ways with my travel buddy. I got sick. I almost broke my camera. And all that just kind of destroyed me. And at one point, I was just looking on map, trying to find the nearest airport to leave the trail, but I didn't, and I'm happy I did not, because the trail brought so much more extraordinary experience to me on the later parts of the trail.
And so why didn't you leave the trail? You were thinking about it. What kept you going?
I'm actually wondering this question still. Like, there are many different reasons that could have kept me going. Like, for example, I felt like a lot of people were that I care about were following my journey, and I would fail them and myself if I quit the trail. And there was just so much more ahead, so many different landscapes. Like on the HRP, every path is different, every valley is different, and it's challenging to hike this trail, but it's beautiful to see how landscape changes with every step you make. So I guess that wander for the unknown on the trail, that was the main reason that kept me going.
So when I walk the GR10, a lot of times you'd go through villages. Resupplying was pretty easy, but the HRP, it seems like you're out in the wilderness more, and you don't go through villages like every day. Is that the case, or is it? Do you tend to go through villages pretty regularly?
You mostly do cross villages, so it's not really difficult to resupply, but there are very remote parts of the trail where you can go like 5 days without a resupply point. And sometimes you have to hitchhike to the nearest town to get food. And I had actually situations twice that I was almost running out of food. I don't know, for the first time I survived on an extraordinary amount of blueberries and old rice from a mountain hut that I found there. And for the second time, I was just saving my porridge, and yeah, it went fine.
Can you talk a little bit about accommodations? Is it mostly, were you in your tent all the time? You mentioned there was a mountain hut. Were there lots of mountain huts, or is this something where you pretty much have to camp and carry everything on your back with you?
Um, in the Pyrenees, I think there's a good system of mountain huts, and there are many paid huts. And I have never spent a night in these ones because I'm broke. So I mostly camped and slept in free huts and shepherd's huts that are great as well, but sometimes they are overloaded, and you just have to fit in this hut like sardines in a can, or just camp outside. so it's not really reliable sometimes.
In looking at the trail, instead of going through like every single day, are there kind of like stages? Like I remember when I did the GR10, the first little bit was you're going through the hills of the Basque Country, and then you get into the big mountains, and then you get into the drier Mediterranean. Is it like that on the HRP, that there's kind of, each week is kind of a different aspect, or do you spend a lot of time just in the big mountains where it just feels like you're in big mountains, day after day, week after week?
There is a huge variety of landscapes on this trail, like approximately the same as you mentioned about GR10, like the hills in the beginning, the high mountains in the middle, and the Mediterranean dry climate at the end. But I don't know. I'm not actually really familiar with GR10, so it's hard for me to compare these trails. But I think that high mountains part on the HRP is probably much longer than on GR10, and maybe more different. Like there are many areas that are completely unique from each other.
You mentioned you were carrying everything and camping. Can you talk a little bit about your pack? Did you have a super heavy pack where you're really focused on going light? Again, you only had 4 days training. You know, how much did you
Uh,
learn about what's right to have in your pack doing this?
I I was trying to go as close to light backpack as possible with my budget. That was not good at all. So my backpack was about 12 kilograms, and this year I'm carrying a lot of new camera equipment and a few lenses, a stabilizer, and all this stuff is really heavy, so I have to get some lighter camping equipment. Like I got this year ZPX duplex tent and ultralight sleeping bag, and I hope that this will make my backpack lighter, even though I have really heavy camera equipment this year.
Let's talk a little bit about the filming process, because you have this really beautiful I think it's a 7-part series on YouTube um,
Mhm.
about your journey. And I was interested, like, can you share a little bit about some tips on how to film, as well as, how is this evolving as, you're about to embark on a big trip this year?
While I was filming the HRP, it was, I can say, the first time I was doing such thing. Like I was filming this 4-day hike in Low Tatars in Slovakia, but it's nothing compared to long distance hike. And I was not really prepared. I had two scenes planned, and I filmed just one of them. Uh, so I was just filming as I felt right at that moment. And this year I want to try something different. I am making a lot of scenes. I am making a lot of storyboards. I will write a screenplay after filming. So it will be a long process to build these films, but I hope to make something with a lot of a lot higher, with much higher quality than on the HRP. So, and this year I'm filming on a new camera. Um, it's like a very good camera with different lenses. So it has a lot of opportunities to set up your shot as you want it to. And I have a stabilizer this year that like brings a lot of opportunities as well. So I hope to make something like good this time.
Can you talk a little bit about the journey you're about to embark on this year?
In 2 weeks, and a few hours, I'm starting Kungsleden. It is a long distance trail in Sweden, 500 kilometers long distance trail in Sweden, in the northern part of the country. So it doesn't have that huge elevation as the HRP, but it is still challenging because it's north. It's cold. It's mosquitoes and cold. That's the biggest problem, I guess. A lot of snow, a lot of swamps. So I will have to deal with that.
And what drew you to that route?
I guess I was trying to find something different. Like the HRP is high mountains. Kungsleden is north, so something completely different compared with the HRP. And for example, I would like to hike the National Israel Trail or Jordan Trail, so the desert, so something completely different again. So I guess with new through hike, I want to get a new extraordinary experience. So Kungsleden is great at this point.
And last summer you walked through Slovakia, and I saw a post of yours where you kind of said you didn't love it as much as you thought it would, and it was because it didn't have the nature you were seeking. Can you share more about your experience and what you found out about how much you love nature?
I liked this trail in many ways. Like this country is beautiful, but I guess yes, I was seeking for wilderness, and I didn't find it last time. Like it was on the HRP when you can hike and there's nobody for miles and no village, no sign of civilization at all. And on the Slovak National Trail, there's always a village, a hiker, a tractor just left in the middle of the forest. And yes, it's not wild. And there were a few reasons why I decided to quit this trail. As I mentioned, I had a really heavy backpack last year. It had about 17 kilograms without food and water, which is like a lot, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I twisted my leg while I was climbing down a mountain, and I was hiking a week with a twisted leg, and it's not cool, you know. I got sick, and I got food poisoning, and all this combination just made leaded me to the decision to quit the trail. But probably the most important one was that I was not expecting anything completely new from this trail because I had 200 kilometers in front of me, and these 200 kilometers were forests, the same ones, pretty much the same ones as 200 kilometers before. Like there are a few mountains, a few castles, but nothing that unique as before and as HRP brought every day.
And just to dig a bit more into this idea of wilderness, what really resonates with you, or what do you really love about wilderness? Can you put it into words about why it's so important to you?
I grew up in a village. Like 18 years of my life, I was in a village with pretty much no people. Like it's a small village in Russia. So in the summer, okay, there are people. In the winter, there are 2 or 3 houses that are not abandoned. So I was connected to nature in some ways more than with people. And yes, I guess from that goes my connection with nature, my past in Russia.
Nikita, it's been great to hear about your journey on the HRP, and I'm so interested to hear how your journey in Sweden goes. It's again another route that's just not very well known. Thanks for taking time to come on the podcast today and to share your experiences.
Thank you for having me here, inviting me here, and having this conversation with me.
If people want to find out more, either see your videos or follow you along on social media, where can they find you?
I have Instagram and YouTube, both with the name of Morcani Trail, and I post everything there.
I'll put links in the show notes, and I'd really recommend following along on the YouTube videos. They're really beautifully shot and very kind of relaxing and atmospheric, and they're just fun to watch if there's a rainy weekend to follow along. It's a great thing to see. And with that, thanks everyone for listening to this episode of the 10 Adventures podcast. We'll be back next week to explore the world and hear about more epic adventures. Bye-bye. Start planning your own adventure by visiting us at 10adventures.com and listen to other episodes of the 10 Adventures podcast on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else you find your podcasts.